with us. Zoom's confirmed it. Now we'll just let YouTube confirm it as well. All right, here we are. Here we are. My name is Jack Rome, and I'm glad to welcome you to Meet the Speaker, a live series with cast members actually from the Awakening Mind film series who will also speak at the upcoming 3-day online immersive conference, The Infinite I Am, Awakening Beyond Identity in a World on Fire, taking place from November 14th to 16th. So this series is designed really just to give you a brief taste of the direct experience of the teaching style, of even the session style, really, the conference style that you can expect from each session during the conference. So Neryah dedicates his life to being an expression of the ultimate liberation, guiding earnest seekers and aspirants to their own awakening. Although not aligned with any particular tradition, he does have vast and deep experience in various spiritual traditions and practices and lineages, and provides students with an authentic path of enlightenment to enlightenment through a powerful and direct non-dual system. So his message, with its clarity and its depth, has the power to catalyze transformation and inspire truth seekers. So Av's conference session is titled How to Actually Be Free. Av, thank you so much for joining us for this chat today.
Thank you. I appreciate you welcoming me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the title of your session, it points to a lived realization, not just a concept. And before we hopped on the live stream, we were just talking about that. And that it's not about where to look, but how to look, how to ensure that we live in the state of awakened reality. So could you speak to what how to look really means, like in practice, in the richness of daily life, what that how to look part really entails?
Yeah, that's a great question because most spiritual teachings, they are about where to look. And we all know you have to look at awareness, at your own being. So that's not the question. The question is not where to look, but how to look, like you said. And how to look is about not when you are seeing, but when you are not seeing. So for example, if you take a moment and you recognize your own being, that's easy, that's effortless, that's like immediate. The problem is to make sure that this recognition is there all the time, even when you are not looking into it. Because most of your life will be spent, I guess, not sitting with eyes closed in practice. So having the ongoing recognition without needing to hold on to it in the mind, this is very, very, very important. So the thing about how to look is how to ensure that this recognition is ongoing all the time without you need to consciously recognize it all the time, as if it's a second nature to you, effortlessly present all the time. So that's the key here. Because, as I said, unless you practice 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, most of your time will be spent in activity, in doing things, talking, or something like that. And we need to ensure that this recognition is still there, despite not being on the surface layer of our conscious attention.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. One thing I was thinking about is how to stabilize such a thing. I mean, that's the whole game. But I wonder about it almost like a muscle memory, So we have like the muscle memory of walking, for
Yeah.
example, and I don't have to remind myself how to walk every day. I mean, maybe at some point, as a person gets older, the brain starts to break down and they do have to remind themselves. But when we are ramping up to that process, we very much so stabilize how to walk in the body, and it just happens. And it's
Exactly.
like, and there's like just the slightest intention to walk. I almost don't even want to say intention. It just happens. So how does that stabilization happen in this work, in the spiritual path? How
Yeah,
do we
this is
do
a
that?
great example. This is a great example. So, of course, unavoidably, in the beginning, we need to apply some degree of effort to recognize our being. But like as the practice and the path goes on, it becomes kind of natural for you, kind of second nature, in the sense that you have the underlying intention, but then you surrender the need to kind of hold it. So, for example, someone that doesn't know anything, They take a moment and they connect with awareness, with their being. That's great. Now, the thing is to let go of trying to stay in awareness and seeing if you still stay there in spite of you not trying to stay there. So it becomes natural for you. And it's kind of like being in love. Like when you are in love with someone, like you can go grocery shopping, you can be taking the trash out, cutting vegetables, and the love is still there. You don't need to remember your beloved's name and face, right? But the love is still there. In the same way, your recognition is still there, even though you are not bringing it to the surface layer of your mind. So that's how it should be done, or be, so to speak. It's very, very, very easy. But at the same time, we understand that although awareness does not need any stabilization, there's these subconscious impressions, conditionings, vasanas, this stuff that pulls you back to a default state of ego mind. So as we go through life, we need to be able to identify that which pulls us back so that we can kind of get rid of it, so that we can stay there. So it's not much the awareness or our being that needs to be stabilized. We need to kind of remove that which prevents the ongoing stabilization to be there. Because awareness is always there, right? So it's like the sky. Sky is always there. So the clouds go through it. And in the beginning, we need to remove the clouds to recognize the sky. Right? Okay, but then imagine it's a cloudy day and you cannot see the sky. So we need to learn how to recognize the sky in spite of the presence of the clouds. As long as we are seeing it from like bottom, from here, it's always cloudy. But if you see it from the sun's perspective, it's much easier. So that's kind of, it's a little bit like a metaphor, but it's kind of easy in a sense to see it this way. So just to rephrase, awareness does not need any stabilization, but our recognition of it here does need it. But it's never by focus, concentration, or using the mind. It's more like being in love and allowing that to kind of flourish by itself, by removing that which seems to block it. That's what I would say.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know, as you mentioned that, I was reminded of when you talked about in your full interview for the Awakening Mind film about, I don't know if you would call it a decision, but just the experience to not leave the world, quote unquote, for the spiritual path. But the spiritual path is there, is here in daily life with family, with loved ones, with, you know, work, with the just the monotonous daily life, if we even call it that, the chopping, the grocery shopping, the going to the bathroom, the making the bed, all of those things. And you describe it as being rich, like so much more rich, and that this is what feels right as the contemporary way to pursue this path. Because, and you actually mentioned it in your last answer, that it gives us so many more opportunities to stabilize our recognition. And I mean, I'll tell you what, this past week with me at work, that was like, it was like one after another. It was a gold mine of opportunities, you know. I don't know if
Yeah,
my ego felt that way the whole time, but you know, it's pretty astounding. And I think it feels like even that's a how to look at one's
exactly.
daily life as constant opportunities for stabilizing the recognition, constant opportunities to remember, oh yeah, walking isn't so hard. You know, walking just happens. Yeah, could you speak to that in this context of and maybe even because your conference session title is how to actually be free. I mean, when I hear that, I think how to actually be free means you are actually free in the context of daily life.
Yes, you're free under all circumstances and contexts, exactly. Yeah, this is a great question because I've met people who have been living in ashrams for, let's say, a decade or so, and they think they're kind of free, and it feels that way, right? They're peaceful, they're joyful, everything smoothly flows with life. But then when something happens and they need to leave the ashram and go back maybe to their home country, maybe their father is sick or something, the veil kind of comes down very strongly, and they notice, oh, I was in a bubble. So finding freedom, realization, being free in the midst of life is like, so to call mundane life is very, very important. Because unless you do it on the most difficult scenarios, you are creating a sort of bubble, an artificially elevated environment that will give you the sense of being free, but that's not exactly how it looks. It's sort of like an illusion. So I find freedom outside of the life, so to speak, setting is artificial freedom, not real freedom. That's why sometimes, even when someone has been like, let's say, taking a moment to be with themselves for like a few years, for example, kind of socially absent, and so on. One good instruction is just slightly expose yourself to slightly so-called uncomfortable situations. See how you deal with it. See what comes up. See if you're actually really, so to speak, free or not, you know? So having a life, a normal, so to speak, life, is not a normal life. It's a spiritual path, actually. And I feel like we also need to graduate from the ancient monkhood perspective, where only male monks could actually go onto the path, and now have a more like open-ended perspective about spirituality being in the world, being in society. Of course, there are moments where society kind of fades and you stay with yourself, sure, but most of your life will not be that way. Most likely, you know? I know we all have like the secret yearning to mimic Ramana Maharshi or something and go into a cave and stay there, but you know, nowadays you're gonna get arrested if you go into a cave and, you know, police finds out, what are you doing here? You know, lighting a fire in the forest doesn't work very well. So I find that life is a perfect setting, the perfect, let's say, platform, not just to see what triggers you, right? But at the same time to kind of see how stable your recognition is, how real it is, how free from conditions, right? That's very, very important. And I would say most people who think they are kind of pure enlightened, they should, let's say, try to go into situations which in the past they were avoiding for spiritual, like, oh, no, I'm not going to go there because I need to control my environment, my energy or something. No, you just go there, see how it is, see if you're still free there. And if you are, this is great. But if you're not, okay. So it's a great opportunity. And there's no mistakes, there are no wrong decisions. In hindsight, these are all great learning opportunities, I would say. So in that sense, this is exactly one of the ways how to be free. It's to be in life and not reject it. And we also know that a lot of non-dual traditions, they reject life, right? Because it's like wherever you see like misery and poverty, so let's just go to Shiva as quickly as possible, or Brahman or something. No, that's not the way. It's to be here, present, not escaping. At least I'm not interested in becoming like a god, like a supreme deity, demigod being. No, but actually I could actually be truly human, you know, free as a human, not free as some mythical idealized god or something, nothing like that. So it's very important to be here, kind of grounded in the world, I would say. But just want to point out, there are moments, of course, to go really like into the heavens, but there's also the moments where you kind of need to bring heavens into earth, or uplift earth into the heavens. So that would be very, very important, I would say. Yeah. You had a second question, right? This was like a two-part question.
I feel like everything got
Ah,
answered.
great. Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the our classics of be in the world but not of the world. But it's important to be in the world to
You,
not push it away. If you push it away, it's sticking to your hand as you try to push it away, you know?
yeah, and there's a famous story of there was a Ramana disciple and he went to Ramana Maharshi to look for blessings to become a monk. He wanted to go into the jungle. And Ramana said, but you have like a wife and children and a job. And why do you go there? And he said, well, it will be faster for me. I will speed up my process. And Ramana said, I don't think so. And he said, no, I will leave Maya behind. And Ramana said, but Maya is in your mind. But the guy still did not listen to Ramana and he still went to the jungle. And then he came back a few years later and he's like, oh, you're right, you know, the mosquitoes are really tough in the jungle. So Maya still came after me. Yeah, that's how it is typically.
Oh, that's a good one. Maya's in your mind.
Yeah, because
Wow.
wherever you go, you think you're gonna get like, okay, let's say you are an astronaut and you go to the International Space Station. You think there is no Maya there? Of course, you can see the planet, and there are astronauts who report having, even though they may not know, somatic experiences. Because, like, you look at the blue marble floating in the vastness of space, you're like, wow, and you naturally get into sort of like universal perspective, right? Unified oneness. It's beautiful. But if there's some problem or something there, like, yeah, the mind, the ego, like Maya is still there. It's everywhere. You cannot escape it. So you might as well be where you are.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much for this chat. In thinking about the session that you'll have at the conference, and I know you're going to be talking with Bill Free, which will be great.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm so excited to hear the two of you talk and for him to host your session. Is there anything that, as far as a goal that you have in mind for the session or an intention for the session beyond the title itself? that you're thinking about?
Well, to be honest, I just allow like the energy and the revelations of the session to come by themselves. You know, you tune into the energy of the people that are attending it, and what resonates that day, and however it manifests. For us, it will be a celebration. There's no wrong way or right way to do it. There's just it itself being done and happening by its own accord. You know, so as long as everyone comes like open, surrendered, no expectations. Like it's just a celebration, a moment of joy for everyone, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, I want to point just something out. Of course, how to actually be free comes with the assumption that we are not free. So maybe you'll also question that.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. And is there, do you envision time, like, do you appreciate when folks bring questions from their
Absolutely,
life?
yes.
And yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Because if I'm just by myself, so to speak, like I just stay in silence, you know, in silence. Of course, questions basically allow revelations to come up, insights to come up, ideas to pop up. Like it creates a good environment. So I welcome every question, genuine question, authentic question, you know, that comes from the like deep within your heart, your being. Those are the like burning questions that I would say help melt the ice ego.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much. And for, everybody tuning in, we hope you'll join us. Again, it's from November 14th to 16th. More of this, we'll just continue on right here where we left it. And you can register for free actually at purepresenceconferences.com. So we hope to see you there. Av, thank you so much.